/AskReddit by Reddit. Health inspectors of Reddit. What's the worst thing you've ever found when inspecting a restaurant/shop? Was a health inspector long ago. Was at a Golden Corral. Going through the kitchen area. As I was squatting down to check a dishwasher, my foot broke through the tile floor and into a sewer pipe that ran underneath. Cockroaches come boiling out of the hole. Turns out the entire floor was rotten from a water leak in the sewer pipe. Best/worst part? The general manager tried to fight me when I told them they had to close down until they fixed the open hole into a pipe full of cockroaches and waste. 14-inch border of mold/dirt scum all the way around the edge of the restaurant. Boxes that had 5-year-old shipping labels blocking the path to the mops/mop buckets/mop sink. No sanitizer buckets. No sanitizer cloths. No sanitizer. Mold in the fans blowing over open food in the cooler. Didn't bother finishing the inspection. Just shut them down. Late to the party, but I used to work on my own as a baker in a supermarket, and the cleaners would come in at 10 PM at night when the last worker left, and he would be finished by 2 AM when I arrived. Well, one day I was half an hour early, and I walked up to my department and the cleaner was mopping the prep tables and the equipment with the same water he had used to clean the floor. I wish I was joking. To use the mop on the tables to begin with is stupid, but using the same water as well. Insane. I told his boss when he came in, because I simply had to, and his face was a picture. He really didn't believe me until I got him to have a look on CCTV. Oh, I forgot. He wasn't supposed to even touch the machinery. That was my job. So he was dirtying my already clean equipment. Did pest control for 10 years and seen some stuff. I happened to get picked to take care of roaches and mice at a very heavily populated Somali business type area. It spanned about 2 city blocks and housed restaurants and shops. It was basically a 4-wall warehouse partitioned off into sections inside. The horrors of roaches and mice in these restaurants was unlike anything I have seen. Literally both creatures walking over your feet, over the food, on the counters, in and out of the coolers, stoves, food storage bins, you name it. We eventually gave up rather quickly, since the restaurant owners didn't really care and didn't help us out any by sealing foods and cleaning and whatnot. I had asked the owner of the building, the man who initially called us, why haven't they been shut down by the city, and he said, because no white people come here so no one cares. Never again will I do pest control. Not an inspector, but my SO told me about what happened at a popular seafood restaurant in my town. A guy working the fry station had a magnetic kitchen timer above the fryer, stuck to the hood vent above. One day, the timer fell into the hot grease. They managed to fish out the main plastic part, but the batteries were nowhere to be found. It was determined that the batteries must have disintegrated into the grease. Being a seafood restaurant in the south, half the menu is fried. The owner is too much of a skinflint to stop serving fried food and change out the grease during dinner rush. So whoever ate catfish that night had it fried in a tangy alkaline grease. Health inspector here. Here are my top 3. An old liquor store, which had once been the front unit of a housing duplex, had now converted into full-service deli, sandwiches, fried chicken, etc., without plan review, so they were severely lacking in all the proper space and equipment. Observed were rat infestation, droppings everywhere in the place, mountains of old cast-off equipment in the back, giving the rats a home. Meat defrosting on the hood of an inoperable car on the side alley back unit of duplex, now converted to food storage, had unfinished wooden boards on the floor, which were now soft and rotting from soaking up years of meat juice and everything else. While inspecting a Chinese buffet, I noted to the employees that there were tubs of frozen fried shrimp stacked on top of one another without covers, so they needed to discard the top layers of the food and put on the tub lids. As they scrambled to do so, they knocked over the tower of shrimp, spilling it everywhere. As I was standing there, they hurriedly started scooping the shrimp off the floor and back into the tubs. I'm standing right here, you guys. A guy ordered commercial sausage making equipment delivered to his private home. Manufacturer got suspicious and tipped off the health department. Turns out the guy would go hunting all sorts of exotic game meat without permits, process them into sausages in his rat-infested garage, droppings the size of jelly beans, and was selling them to the public. Don't buy food from home cooks, folks. Edit 1. Been trying to fix the numbering, but it's not going through. Displaying 1, 2, 3 on edits page, but keeps showing 1, 1, 2. Thank you all who have pointed it out. Edit 2. Reverted to good old bullet points. Yo, want some rat poo flavored giraffe sausage? High-end Thai place in a popular tourist area. Go downstairs to the kitchen and open up their freezer. On the top shelf of the freezer, they are storing loose beef, pork, and chicken in 3 separate piles. The meats are not in any containers. They are all sitting on a large piece of cardboard the restaurant had placed on the bottom of the shelf. We poke the cardboard and our finger goes right through it. The juices from the 3 meats had turned the cardboard into pulp. We then notice it dripping from the combined sludge of chicken, pork, and beef blood. From the looks of the cardboard, it had been dripping for a while. We look to the shelf below to see the results of the drip. Underneath the meats, in the shelf second from the top, the restaurant was storing 3 buckets of ice cream without lids. Directly under the meat drip, we look inside the ice cream containers and see congealed, partially frozen, cardboard laced raw meat drippings, pooled in the center of each tub of ice cream. None of the ice creams were more than halfway full. We ask the kitchen manager how long they've been storing their items like this. He doesn't remember. At least a few months. My theory is, because the place was A, nice restaurant, and B, an ethnic restaurant, patrons were less likely to complain about odd flavors. For example, instead of complaining about blood in the ice cream, wondering out loud if that tastes star anise. That's one of the few inspections that made me feel physically sick. Place still got an A, because the restaurant grade system in my city is about as effective as TSA. WTF, where do you live? I'll be sure never ever to eat there. New York City. So this is from the other side but pretty unique. A long time ago, while I was in college, I used to maintain aquariums. Quite a few were in restaurants. There was an old school seafood restaurant that had a ton of tanks, great customers, and a cool place. I would be out there at least once a week for half a day making everything spotless. This was before cell phones, you youngsters. I'm in class and my pager, yes, pager, is blowing up from their number. I call and one of the Mexican staff picks up and all I could gather is, please Mr. Fishman, you come now, very big problem, emergency. I head out there and there are health inspectors there. So, for all the tanks I take care of, if a fish dies I ask the owner to put it in a bag and freeze it so I can take a look and see if I can figure out why it kicked the bucket. Well, one of their very old and very large and pretty beat up blue tanks, Dory, had died and they had froze it per instructions. The inspectors show up to this seafood restaurant and first thing they see is this decrepit old fish that had been munched on by the other fish in the tank alongside the catch of the day. It was before opening and only the Mexican staff were there who had no idea how to explain it. I got it sorted out, but kinda funny. A tuna canning plant in Los Angeles was off of Terminal Island. The processing plant owned the entire island a few miles offshore. Needless to say, had to take a boat to the plant to look at some machinery they needed repaired. We get to the plant and there are dozens of cats inside the plant, outside the plant, warehouse, etc. Cats everywhere. Nobody said anything. They were even in the office building. After a few trips, I finally asked. One guy said in a joke, "It's either rats or cats. We don't have a rat problem here. I worked grocery in Manhattan. Our exterminator brought us a cat and we took the points for having a pet versus having bugs and rodents. The only mouse I ever saw there was in the process of being eaten by the cat. Was in military housing, and there were likely thousands of mice in the houses on that block. I know I saw dozens running around, especially at night. I got adopted by a feral cat that moved in with us. Within hours there was a neat line of rodent corpses growing at the threshold to the kitchen. Within a week I never saw a mouse in that house again." Not a health inspector, but heard this story through a guy who services my soft serve machines. As info for those not in the ice cream business, most soft serve machines need to be cleaned, meaning fully disassembled, scrubbed, and sanitized, at least weekly, some every 3 days. He got a call from a woman complaining that the vanilla side of her machine was coming out with black specks in it. Was worried it might be grinding up an O-ring or worse. He took the head off the machine and claims he nearly lost his lunch, as the barrel was infested with cockroaches. Apparently, the woman had never cleaned the machine in the several months she had been open. Somehow the roaches got into it. At night, the barrel stops freezing and just keeps the mix cool, so it returns to a liquid, and were being ground up and expelled as additional protein. How long has it been doing this? About a week. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.